The investigation regarding the allegations surrounding Red Bull's team principal and chief executive, Christian Horner, has finally wrapped up. But before the decision regarding his fate was announced to the public, the 50-year-old has been under fire by drivers on the grid, including those who currently drive for him or have driven for him in the past. Horner was accused of inappropriate behavior by a female employee of the team, and a private investigation was launched around 2 weeks ago by Red Bull Racing's parent company, Red Bull GmbH. After an extensive inquiry and meetings with key personnel from within the team, including Horner, the lawyer in charge came up with a 100-page report. He then handed the findings over to Red Bull's Austrian headquarters, where the board of directors will come up with a final decision. An official statement by Red Bull GmbH cleared Horner of the charges put forward, but has refused to release the report, citing privacy reasons. The female employee still has the right to appeal the process, and reportedly also sued Horner in court earlier last week. Red Bull GmbH said the independent investigation into the allegations made against Mr. Horner is complete, and Red Bull can confirm that the grievance has been dismissed. The complainant has a right of appeal. Red Bull is confident that the investigation has been fair, rigorous, and impartial. The investigation report is confidential and contains the private information of the parties and third parties who assisted in the investigation, and therefore we will not be commenting further out of respect for all concerned. Red Bull will continue striving to meet the highest workplace standards. It has also been reported that Horner has flown out of Austria towards Bahrain and is preparing for the first race of the season this weekend. But as the sport gears up for the Bahrain Grand Prix, Formula One drivers were recently put in front of a camera as part of the first media day of the year. 6 drivers were chosen for the session, but Max Verstappen, the only Red Bull driver present, faced a fair number of questions circling around Horner. He was first asked whether the investigation would harm his performance in any way, but the Dutchman stated that his focus was on the race and not the events of the team. "It doesn't," he told media. "I'm very focused on just the performance of the car myself, and hopefully it'll just be resolved very soon." When asked whether he supports Horner or not, Verstappen chose not to answer and stated that he believes in the team's process and that he does not want to be involved in the drama. "It's a whole team effort that everyone has to stick together," he said, "work towards more success, and that's why it's important to get a result very soon. I'm trusting the process. That's what's happening right now. That's the thing that I mentioned with it. But besides that, when you talk about performance, it's of course very important that everyone sticks together. I do not want to get into the investigation because it's not my case anyway, and I don't want to be involved with that. But as a team, we do trust that process, and we just have to be patient because there's no need to start saying things, start screaming things out loud. You have to be patient. I think I've learned that over the years anyway." Finally, in the end, he was asked whether Horner's removal from the team would affect the team's performance both in the long run and during this season, and Max was confident that in the short term, the team could continue as it is currently. "I think he is very important, otherwise he wouldn't be in that position for such a long time," Verstappen said. "Let's say if your team boss disappears for whatever reason for 1 or 2 races, not much is going to happen because everyone is in their role and they know what they have to do in the short term, but it's all about people management over time. Then, of course, things will start to be different if, one of the leaders starts to not be there anymore, but we're not thinking like that. Like I said before, we just trust the process that we are in as a team, see what the outcome will be, and besides that, at the moment, everyone is just very focused on the performance here at the track, and everyone is in a good mood and just excited to get going again." It seems Verstappen would not be affected much if Horner were fired, and if the investigation gets appealed, who knows what might happen. Jos Verstappen was also mentioned in the situation and was linked to leaking the allegations in the first place. Jos and Horner had a falling out in 2022 due to team orders, and it is believed he no longer supports the Briton leading the team. But Verstappen was not the only driver that talked about the investigation. Daniel Ricciardo, who drives for Red Bull's secondary team, also had to face similar questions from the press. Ricciardo told the media, "Coming into the test, obviously, we were aware of everything going on. But would I say, was it an on-track distraction? No, it wasn't. Knowing we have so little time as well, it was really, I need to focus on me, my team, my driving, and trying to start this week as strongly as possible. Do I feel for him through all of this? Yes, I've known Christian for a long time. He's always been great with me, so I do hope that there is a fair outcome and resolution soon, hopefully before this weekend, so it's not really a distraction for him or obviously anyone in the team. But honestly, for us, we've had to really just focus on ourselves and trying to get on with the task. Ricciardo was much more sympathetic towards Horner, but at the same time, he also reiterated that what was going on behind the scenes would not affect the team's performance in any way. Finally, the last driver who answered questions regarding Christian Horner was Lewis Hamilton, who was asked about his thoughts on how Red Bull handled the situation. I think it's a difficult one to answer. Naturally, 7-time world champion Hamilton said earlier on Wednesday, "We always have to do more to try and make the sport and the environment that people get to work in feel safe and inclusive, and any allegations have to be taken very seriously." Obviously, we don't know everything that's gone on, but it does need to be resolved as it's hanging over the sport. It will be really interesting to see how it's dealt with moving forwards and the effect that it may or may not have on the sport moving forwards. I think it's a really important moment for the sport to make sure that we stand true to our values. Toto Wolff also did not shy from telling the media what he thought about the situation and demanded more transparency in the process. "There is a lot of speculation that has been happening over the past weeks and lots of things that are going on," said Wolff. "What is important is for a process with rigor. I think what Red Bull has started as an independent investigation. If this is done in the right way, with transparency, that is something we need to look at. F1 and the teams, we stand for inclusion, equality, fairness, diversity, and it is not only talking about it, it is living it day in and day out. These are the standards we are setting ourselves. We are a global sport, one of the most important sports in the world, and we are role models. It is not just a team issue. It is an issue for all of F1. In the end, the Horner saga has finished, and Horner has retained his position in the team. It is uncertain what will happen with the employee who brought the allegations forward and whether she will proceed with the case she filed earlier last week. It is also not sure whether the power struggle in the company between part owner Mark Mateschitz and Horner had an influence on the results of the investigation, or whether it was major stakeholder Chalem Yovidia who had the final say. The season's first race is only a few days away, and Horner is expected to be back at his position on the pit wall. Red Bull is predicted to continue dominating the track, and with the significant upgrades they brought to their car, stopping Max Verstappen will be a commendable feat. What do you think of Max Verstappen's comments on Horner? Has the relationship between Max and Horner ended, or was Max's statement only to deter the press? Let us know in the comments below. As always, like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with the latest news in Formula One.